Hello, hello. Welcome all. We're so happy you are with us here today as we are discussing an introduction to Ozobot Blockly. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Michaela Baruch, and I am the head of the EDU team here at Ozobot. I have 16 years of experience working in public education. I have been a classroom teacher, an instructional coach, an assistant principal, a district head of teacher training and development. And my favorite thing about working here at Ozobot is how inventive and creative students can be when they have our tiny and mighty bot in their hands.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jordan Hanna, and I'm a curriculum developer with Ozobot. A little bit about me, I have a master's in teaching and elementary education. And before joining Ozobot, I was a kindergarten teacher. I love creating content for teachers like you to bring our bots into your classrooms. And I'm so excited to be here with all of you today and be teaching you about Ozobot Blockly. And with that, I'll hand it over to Michaela to get us started.
We want to thank you for taking the time to be with us today. We know that as educators, your time is very, very precious. And so we hope that this is a great learning experience for you. Now that we've introduced ourselves, we would love to know who we have with us in the space today. So you should see in front of you a quick poll that has 3 questions just to get to know a little bit more about you. Please take a few moments to answer those questions. Right, take about 30 more seconds to complete that poll. I see many of you have done so. All right. Get those final responses in, please. I'm going to go ahead and close our poll.
We have quite a few people saying they work with K5th, which I don't believe is one of the options. So just they're putting it in the chat.
Thank you. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share our poll results with each of you. Yes, thank you so much for all of your comments in the chat. It's so great to have so many people with the range of backgrounds that you all do. As you can see, we have a lot of folks that are in the elementary school space, a lot of folks just K through 5, generalists. And I love to see that we have some summer camp coordinators in the house today. That is so wonderful. Welcome. We're so happy you're here. And then you can see also the content that folks use most frequently their Ozobots with. So in this session, we have a great range of what you all are using your Ozobots with, which we love to see. And finally, we were so curious to see what brought you to today's webinar, what prompted you to spend some time outside of your teaching day to be with us. And so it looks like many of you are here because you recently started using Ozobot. And so we're so happy that you're here and hope that you find this helpful and pick up some great tips and tricks along the way. And it looks like several of you also are looking for a way to use Ozobot beyond color codes. And as Jordan and I were preparing for today's webinar, we anticipated that that would be the reason that brought many of you here today. And so regardless of your reason, thank you so much for coming. So I want to start by giving you just an overview of how this time will be spent. So we will start by giving you a general overview of Ozobot Blockly, the basics, what it is and why it is impactful for student learning. Then Jordan will lead you through a demo of Ozobot Blockly so you can see all of its tools in action. Next, we will cover everything you need to know in order to start with Blockly in your classroom. And we will end by covering our highest leverage troubleshooting tips. And I want to start with just some housekeeping before we jump in. You will notice that your cameras were off and you were automatically muted upon entering the space. Please leave it that way, stay muted, stay off camera to minimize any distractions. Our wonderful colleague, Jen Maher, is also here with us today. Many of you probably know and recognize Jen. She has been with Ozobot for years. She is here to monitor the chat. So please do use the chat for any questions that you have that are relevant to the whole group, or feel free to message Jen or myself one-on-one if you have any individual questions. We are definitely here to support you. Finally, please know that we are recording the entirety of this webinar and we'll be posting it on our website. We know that most of you are here because you are eager to learn about Blockly, and we want to mitigate any stress that you might feel if you think that any part of this session moves too quickly, especially when we walk you through the Blockly editor. So know that you'll be able to watch back and pause and rewind with ease when we post it on our website. So with that, we're going to dive in and talk a little bit just about the big picture of Ozobot Blockly. So we'll start by talking about just what is Ozobot Blockly. Ozobot Blockly is a block-based editor that allows you to create visual programs for your Ozobot. Programs in Blockly are created using blocks that can be selected, dragged, dropped, and connected together like puzzle pieces. Programs are sent to your Ozobot via Bluetooth. So to understand exactly how Blockly works, it is really important for you and your students to understand the difference between code and programs. So code are instructions written in a programming language. A program is a complete set of instructions that are written in code that the computer executes to achieve a particular objective. So in Blockly, we sometimes refer to pieces of code as blocks. Each block enables Ozobot to perform an action. There are blocks or codes that guide movement, and not just what the movement of the Ozobot will be, but how fast the movement should be, in what direction, and for how long. Other blocks determine sounds, light effects, and timing. In the intermediate levels of Blockly, students can leverage Ozobot's sensors to interact with objects in front of or behind Ozobot and use logic to perform different actions based on colors. Your most advanced programmers can work with functions, variables, arrays, and lists. So one helpful way to think about the difference and connection between codes and program is to consider how the Blockly editor tells a story using Ozobot. Each block or piece of code are the individual words that, when combined, tell a story to form a program. So we know, based on the survey, that many of you are here today to support your students with transitioning from Ozobot color codes to Blockly. And we know our users love color codes. And if you are here because you just started using Ozobots, know that color codes are a beautiful way to get started with your students. We know why our users love color codes. It is a screen-free, hands-on, easy-to-learn way for your students to experience the magic of coding and robotics. And we also know that at some point, your students may be ready for something beyond color codes. So I want to speak for a moment about how Blockly is different from color codes, and it differs in a few key ways. First, and perhaps most obvious, is that Blockly is computer-based. Blockly also focuses more on programming or combining groups of code rather than on creating individual codes. Blockly has 5 different levels that are easily controlled by the user. So this makes the concept of programming highly approachable, even for the youngest and most novice programmers. And something that the EDU team at Ozobot likes the most about Blockly is the potential for rapid progression and growth on the other side of programmatic skill development, your more advanced students. So the ceiling is much, much higher in Blockly in comparison to color codes in terms of your students' potential for advancement. The various levels mean that your fastest workers or your students for whom programming comes very easily are able to push their progress at a rate that works for them. From a classroom management perspective, Blockly eliminates the need to disseminate any color code markers. So therefore, you don't have to manage lid securing, and it's more supportive for students for whom marker grip or pencil grip is tricky. Additionally, Blockly does not require calibration unless you are utilizing color sensors in Blockly Level 3. So in addition to supporting you with understanding the robotics concepts that underpin Blockly, we want to make sure that you leave today's webinar understanding how Blockly intersects with lesson planning and all of the different preparation that you do every day. So we know that every educator, no matter your position, has a relationship with standards. So some of you may view standards as the cornerstone of every instructional decision that you make. And some of you may experience standards as more of a symbol of a greater bureaucracy. And regardless of how you view standards, we know that at some point you will have to do the work of demonstrating how Ozobot Blockly aligns with your given standards. So we want to point out that our lesson library includes hundreds of Ozobot Blockly lessons that ask students to create and use models that simulate real-world phenomena, something that many of our standards ask us to do. So some examples of the real-world phenomena that ask students to program Ozobot to convey are demonstrating a plot diagram, engaging in a gymnastics floor routine, drawing a 100th day of school party hat, just to name a few. So the cognitive lift involved in the various levels of Ozobot Blockly addresses several components of the most widely used standards, including, but definitely not limited to, NGSS, ISTE, CSTA, TEKS, and the Common Core. So each lesson in our library explicitly calls out individual standards that it is aligned to, but there are a few skills and processes that span the standards and are utilized throughout Ozobot Blockly. And those skills and processes are developing and using models, using digital tools to plan and design a program, utilize problem-solving skills and demonstrating a tolerance for ambiguity. Blockly definitely asks students to just sit with the unknown and try to wrestle with and grapple with things when they're not quite sure of the answer, and computational thinking skills. So in addition to meeting the rigors of many of your standards, we just know that Blockly requires students to think in very complex ways. It asks them to flex into their digital literacy, into their mathematical modeling, and as I mentioned, into their problem-solving skills. We get very excited about Blockly because of the ways in which it just generally prepares students for the workforce that awaits them. So now that you have a foundational understanding just of what Ozobot Blockly is, Jordan is going to share with you how it works.
Thank you. I am really excited for this next part of the webinar as I will be demonstrating how to use Ozobot Blockly. And these are going to be the really first beginning steps of understanding your workspace, creating the program, and then connecting your Ozobot to run your program. So first, I will show you how to find the link for Ozobot Blockly. You'll go to ozobot.com, how it works, and head over to Ozo Blockly. And here is where you'll find that getting started link that will take you to your workspace. There we go. So this area you see here, that's a little bit darker, will be your Ozobot workspace. This is where you're going to be dragging blocks over to create that program. The first thing you want to do before creating your program is go to the upper left-hand corner and select the bot you're using. So you can choose from Bit Plus, Evo, or MetaBot. And for today's lesson, we are going to choose Evo. Underneath that, you'll see the numbers 1 through 5. These are the levels you can choose from. And each time you go up a level, you'll notice that there are additional block categories that include more challenging blocks that you can use. I want to point out that if you have pre-reader students or ESL students, level 1 is where you'll want to start. And this is because the blocks use images to tell you what it will enable Ozobot to do rather than words. So again, if you have pre-reader or ESL students, level 1 is where you want to start. For today's lesson, we will start at level 2. And below level 2, you can see the 5 block categories included here. And now this is the bread and butter of Ozobot Blockly. In these block categories are blocks, which are really codes, but here we will call them blocks. So when you put them together, they will create that full program. Just like Michaela mentioned earlier, code is the written instructions in a programming language. So with block programming, which we're doing here, those codes will be pre-programmed into a block that students can drag and drop around to create their program. The first category we'll go over is movement. So movement programs your bot to move around in different ways. You can program Ozobot to move in a straight line, rotate, zigzag, skate, spin, and make small and big circles. I'm going to drag a few of these to my workspace to show you how the drop-down selections work. So for moving in a straight line, you can click the drop-down selector and move Ozobot forward or backwards. You have the option to choose how many steps you want Ozobot to take from 1 to 10, and each step will move Ozobot forward about 1 centimeter. And then you can also choose what speed you want Ozobot to be moving at. When making a circle, you have the same options of moving at different speeds and in different directions. And then you also have the option to choose how long you want Ozobot to be making that circle for. The next block category is light effects. So light effects program Ozobot's LED lights. And if you're using Evo, Evo has 1 LED light on the top and 5 on the front. And so you can set that top light color to any of these options here. You can also turn that top light off. And below are some really cool light effect animations that are pre-programmed that will make your Ozobot do a rainbow, traffic lights, disco, and so on. The next block category is timing. So timing controls the time in between blocks. And I'll show you an example of how to use it. So you can have Ozobot wait from anywhere to 1 to 10 seconds. And say you want Ozobot to wait 5 seconds in between moving backwards and making that small circle. You'll drag that wait block in between your 2 movement blocks. And then what will happen when you run your program is Ozobot will move backwards, wait 5 seconds, and then make that small circle. The next category is loops. Loops programs repeating sequences. So you can take the program you've created and have Ozobot repeat it. One option is to have Ozobot repeat that block forever. And so it will continue repeating the sequence you've created as long as you're running the program. What you want to do is take your whole program you created and drag it into the body of that repeat forever block. The other option is to do the repeat end times block, and you can choose to have Ozobot repeat your program a certain number of times between 2 and 10. So again, you'll take your whole program and put it into the body of the loops block. And the last category on level 2 is sounds. Sounds programs your bot to make different noises. And there's a lot of fun options here to choose from. Ozobot can say different colors, different numbers, directions, and Ozobot can actually play musical notes. These also have drop-down selectors where you can pick different options for what you want Ozobot to do. So if you are creating your program and you are maybe a little bit unsure about what the function of some blocks do, I have a really great tip for you. You'll click on the block that you want to learn more about, right-click it or double-click it, and press Help. This is going to open up our glossary. And the glossary is one of my favorite tips in Ozobot Blockly. I used it when I was teaching myself how to use it, and I still use the glossary all the time today. So I really, really recommend that you and your students play around with the glossary and learn more about each of the blocks. And so what it does is it pulls up the definition for what the block does, and some of them will give you examples of how to use it. Once the glossary is pulled up like this, you can actually just go back to your program and click on any of the other blocks, and it will take you to the definition for that block in glossary. So another thing I would like to go over with you guys in your workspace are these 4 icons at the bottom here. There's the trash can, symbol, copy, undo, and redo. So if you want to copy a block that you have on your workspace, you're going to select it and just click the copy button. If you want to undo the last action, you will press the counterclockwise arrow. And if you want to redo the action, you will click on the counterclockwise arrow. Now, there are 4 ways to delete your blocks. The first way to delete a block is to drag it over to the side panel and just release it. The second way is to drag it down to this trash can here. The third way will be to right-click or double-click the block and press delete block. And the fourth way will actually delete all of the blocks on your workspace. And it'll be to click the trash can. It says erase all. And before it erases all, it will ask you if you're sure that you want to delete it all. Okay, so now I'm going to create a little program and show you how to connect your bot and run your program. I want to use the loops repeat forever block and have my Ozobot enabling the light effects. So it will be showing the police car lights with its LED lights and a repeat forever loop. And so once you and your students are done creating your program and you're ready to connect your bot and run your program, you'll go to the right-hand side of the screen and press Programs. And you'll see this Connect button right here. Go ahead and select Connect, and a window will pop up, which is your computer searching for any other devices to connect using Bluetooth. And so you'll scroll down and find your Ozobot. And once it's paired, it will show up right here. And the name of your Ozobot will actually show up under the picture of the bot. And this button will change to say Run Program. So I'll go ahead and run my program. And if you take a look at my bot, it's enabling the police car lights on a repeat forever loop. So another really great feature that I want to point out is how to save your work. We really recommend having students save their programs for a number of reasons. The first, of course, is if you're teaching a bigger lesson and it's going to take a few days for students to finish. Another great reason is an accommodation for students who do need more time, and so they can save their progress and jump back in at a later time to finish. Or maybe your students are super passionate about programming with Ozobot Blockly, and they actually want to continue working on it at home. And so there's 2 ways to do this. The first is in this Programs button, you will see where it says Save As. Once you click that, it'll open up to kind of a portfolio of all of your students' saved programs. And you have the option to save 12 programs. You'll title it here, and then you'll click the number that you want to save it under and press Save. You'll notice up here the words that say on this device. So a consideration is that Ozobot uses the local storage in the browser to save programs. And this means that every time you open Ozobot Blockly on your device, it will access these saved programs. However, if you clear your cache, it will delete all the programs on your browser. So we have another option to save programs, which is to use a share code. So under where it says Save As, you'll see the button Share. When you click that, this window will pop up with a share code. So a share code is essentially a unique link that's going to take you back to the program you've created here. And I wanted to point out that there are actually 6 digits that make this link unique. And students can use these 6 digits to save their shared program. So some options that we have for students saving their work is to just write down these 6 digits in their notebook, or they can copy and paste the actual link and save it in a Google document. We also really love share codes when teachers are trying to share their programs with their students. So maybe you've created a program that you want students to debug or modify to make their own. And what you'll do is copy and paste this link and post it into the LMS system you use. Or a really great tip we've heard from teachers is to just write down these 6 digits up on the board And students will then go to Open Program, enter share code, and put those 6 digits into here, and it will pull up the program that you'd like them to start with. Okay, so I know we just shared a lot of information with you, but I am hopeful that you feel more confident jumping into Ozobot Blockly and starting your program. But you're probably wondering, how do I actually incorporate this into my classroom? But we are here to help. We have so many lessons in our Ozobot classroom that we'd like to share with you. So you will head over to classroom.ozobot.com, go to lessons, and you'll see here we have a few different categories. So we have featured lessons, introduction to color codes, and introduction to Blockly. And this is where you will want to get started. If you go to the right-hand side and select on View More, it will pull up 17 of our amazing introductory to Ozobot lessons. And what I love about these lessons is they are all accompanied with a video. So it's really easy to just turn on this video and have your students learn, and you can learn alongside them. Once you have graduated from these introductory lessons, we have so many additional lessons in our lesson library that add a little bit more of a challenge. And a great way to search for them is to go back to lessons and use these search filters. So for the coding method, you will select Ozobot Blockly. And if you want to see lessons that our education team has created, you will select the author as Ozobot. And so here there are almost 200 lessons that our team has created for you to use with your students with Ozobot Blockly. And we've intended these lessons to also teach you along the way. I'll show you an example of one of these lessons and what they look like in the lesson plan. So you'll have in your direct instruction a lot of times a share code, like I mentioned earlier. And when you click that share code, it'll actually pull up an Ozobot Blockly with the intended end result or the solution to the program should look like. So this can kind of help you be a helping hand if you just need a little additional support with teaching the lesson. Right, I'll head back to classroom. So in our featured lessons, you'll be able to see new Blockly lessons every month. And if you subscribe to our marketing emails or follow us on social media, then you'll see when we add those new lessons to our lesson library. Something really exciting that you may be seeing soon is the release of our newest product called Challenge Math. And so this new product is an instructional resource designed to be immersive and challenge-based, and it teaches the programming concepts using Ozobot Blockly. You guys can incorporate these into your class, into your after-school programs or summer camps. And the challenge mats come with these large neoprene 32 by 24 mats and 2 sets of lesson cards. So one will teach students the basics of Blockly, and the other will present various challenges for students to complete. And we have 4 really engaging themes for each of our challenge mats. The first will be the Mars mat. So that sends students in their Ozobots to set up a space station on the surface of Mars. The second is our ocean mat, which takes students to the depths of the sea to discover the life that lives in our oceans. And the last 2 mats are our basketball and soccer mats. So those provide students with sports-centered challenges and drills for Ozobot to engage with. So be sure to keep your eye out for our challenge mats. And now I'm going to hand things over to Michaela for some troubleshooting tips.
All right. So first of all, because I know we have so many folks with us today who are fairly new to Ozobot, I really want to underscore the introductory lessons and in classroom that Jordan just reviewed with you, and point out and encourage you to learn alongside your students. Our introductory to color code and introductory to Blockly lessons include video tutorials that are super easy to use for both you and your students for that purpose to get started. And so now what I want to do is share our best tips for solving the most common Blockly related roadblocks that you might run into. So in general, whether you're using color codes or Blockly or something else with your bots, if it just seems like they're not working properly, make sure that you have updated them. You should update your bots every year, at least, if not more, to make sure they are functioning with our latest software version. In a few moments, I'm going to show you exactly how to update your bots. Next, if your bots have the most recent update, but it seems like 1 or 2 students seem to still be having a hard time connecting to Blockly specifically, make sure that they have selected the proper bot in the top left-hand corner of the editor. So you'll see they can choose between Bit, Evo, and Metabot there. And we have a few of you asking this question in the chat, and I can understand why. It's hard to know sometimes which bot you have. So Ozobot has 3 versions of our line following robot. If you are in the United States, you have either a Bit or an Evo. If you are outside of the US, you may have an Evo, a Bit, or a Bit Plus. But I really want to underscore that only folks outside of the US have Bit Plus. So, and for US customers who aren't sure if you have a Bit or an Evo, the easiest way to check is to look for proximity sensors and LED lights. Evo has proximity sensors on the front of the bot that look like eyes. Bit and Bit Plus do not have those. Evo and Bit Plus both have LED lights on the front. Bit has no lights on the front. And so a few of you are commenting in the chat, and we've had other users notice that Bit is the oldest version of our line following bot. And Bit has since been discontinued. We no longer make those. So please do let us know if we can support you in purchasing an upgraded classroom kit of Evos, because as you can see, the Evo has those proximity sensors and those LED lights that give it the latest and greatest capabilities. So Ozobot Blockly works with both laptops, Chromebooks, and tablets. And so one of the trickiest parts of getting started with Blockly is one of the first steps that you will take, which is supporting students in connecting their bots to Blockly. So if you are using, or should I say, if your students are using laptops or Chromebooks, they will use the browser version of Blockly at ozoblockly.com. They will also connect their Ozobot this way and can get more information on how to connect their bot in the Programs tab that Jordan showed you earlier. If your students use tablets or iPads, they will program using the Evo by Ozobot app, which is free on the App Store. Students will also connect their Ozobot through the app by selecting the Connect button on the homepage. They need to make sure that they connect their bot in the app before they open Blockly in the app. So just like with any Bluetooth connection, your students' devices will bring up any and all Bluetooth capable items within range when they turn their Bluetooth on. So this will include all of the Ozobots that are in your classroom kit. This is why we highly recommend naming your bots in advance. And in a moment, we will show you exactly how to do that. Your classroom kit came with a set of numbered stickers for this exact purpose. So those of you in the chat who are saying that you put your stickers on your bots, that is a great first step. And we will show you, like I said, in a moment, how to actually name them. And that said, you can name your bots whatever you want to name them. You don't have to name them with numbers. One classroom procedure tip that we have heard from our community is to instruct only a few students at a time to turn Bluetooth on and begin the pairing process. This is especially helpful if you teach younger students who you just know will require assistance. And so what this could sound like is just students with bots 1 through 5, please turn on your Bluetooth and connect. One of the reasons that this is helpful is once a student has paired their bot, it is no longer discoverable by other devices in the space, so it will gradually start to limit the number of devices that are pulled up as an option for students to connect to. Please also note that once a student has turned off their device, its Bluetooth connection automatically disconnects. So we have talked through a lot of troubleshooting tips, and this short video is going to show you how to accomplish 2 really important ones: updating your bots and renaming them.
To update and rename multiple Evos, download the Ozobot Evo app from the iTunes Store on an iPhone or iPad. Connect to power and turn on your Evos. LEDs should be rolling yellow, light green, or green. If lights are orange or red, keep them in the charger until levels turn yellow or green, indicating sufficient battery levels for updating. To begin the multi-bot update process, select the Explore tab and scroll down. Select Teacher Tools Multi-Bot Update, then hit Continue. The app will scan nearby Evos and display which bots require an update. Select Update Number of Evos to initiate the update process. Once complete, the Evos will reflect their status. Please note, each bot may take up to 7 minutes to update, meaning a 12-bot classroom kit may take up to 1 hour and 14 minutes, and an 18-bot classroom kit may take up to 2 hours and 6 minutes. To rename your Evos, navigate to the Explore tab and scroll down. Select Teacher Tools Multi-Bot Rename. A list of your Evos will appear. One by one, an Evo in the list will have a colored circle appear. Match that color to the LED on your bot to rename that specific Evo. If you need assistance with multi-bot updating or renaming, we are here to help. Please contact support@ozobot.com. To update.
All right, so we know we have thrown a lot of information at all of you today, but we hope that you feel excited to jump into Ozobot Blockly and start creating your own programs. However, we completely understand if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed jumping straight into Blockly. So we want to recommend additional programs that will provide more guidance and step-by-step instructions. So Ozobot Challenges is a great tool that helps introduce Blockly. It will teach students block-based programming with or without a bot, so they can actually use it at home. It also is great activity for early finishers, an option for class dojo points or other point systems, or a way to map out programs students will want to build in the Blockly editor. And again, it provides those goals and step-by-step instructions for creating programs. And I'll show you how to access that. So you're going to go back to ozobot.com. Under How It Works, select 2 Ways to Code. And you'll scroll to the bottom of this page where it says Challenges. So here you'll see the Ozobot Simulator, Shape Tracer 1, Shape Tracer 2, and Ozotown. I'll click into Shape Tracer 1 to show you what it looks like. So it looks very similar to the Ozobot Blockly workspace, but it has some differences. So on the left-hand side where there is the block categories, it will actually only include the blocks that students will need to use for the challenge. So it limits the amount and just makes it a little bit more simple to choose which blocks are needed. Up here, you'll see goals. So this is where they will tell you what the student's goal is and how to use the blocks to achieve it. And up here, you can see numbers 1 through 10. So there's 10 challenges in each of these challenges that you can do with your students. Once you have created your program, you can run it over here with the simulator. So you don't actually need an Ozobot to do it. So in this deck, we have included some helpful links that we want to share with you, how to get to Ozobot Blockly, Ozobot Classroom, and then those Blockly challenges I just showed you. We've also included blogs for updating and renaming your bots, and our YouTube link where you can find more helpful videos. Again, we are here to help, so please don't hesitate to reach out to Michaela or I or our Ozobot support email with any questions you have about your bots or any questions you might have about Blockly. Thank you so much for all of you who came and spent your evening, afternoon with us after a long school day. We have left enough time for you to complete a short survey for us. And again, if you have any questions or concerns, please reach out to us. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Take care.